Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy, thy will be done. And in just a few minutes, Rich Levinsky is going to be with us talking about consultants in the workplace and issues that, a big issue that consultants have. You'll definitely want to stay tuned for that. He's always exciting. He always knows exactly what he's talking about because he's been at it for, well, since 1980, I think, 1988, somewhere in there. I wanted to discuss this evening a topic that's come up in the last 5 or 6 months that is going to have a big impact on just about every candidate and employer that might be looking to hire or looking for a job. And it has to do as a result of the shortage of candidates that are available. And I call it how to paint a big target on your back. Lately, especially over the last month or so, we have had all kinds of placements where candidates have gone in and negotiated much higher salaries than they are probably worth, and much higher salaries than the jobs that they are taking are worth. I know it's traditional thinking that it's to a candidate's best interest to get as high a salary as they possibly can. And it's a perception that a company is going to want to pay as little as they possibly can. That's not true. Most companies want to pay what's fair. They're not trying to be cheap. That's a misnomer. But the point is that we've run into a number of situations where, and it happened last week, and what brought this to mind was a candidate created a bidding war between himself and 2 or 3 companies that he was talking to. 2 of the companies that he was talking to were ones that we presented, and one was not. And he went back and forth, and he made no bones about it. I'm in a bidding war. I'm going to go to the highest bidder. We instructed both of our clients that we thought that that was not a good idea to get involved in that, because inevitably it turns out poorly. It's just not a good idea to do that. But both of our clients were desperate to find someone, and they were desperate to get a position filled. One of them had been looking on and off for almost 6 months. The other organization was desperate because they had a big deadline coming up, and they felt like that they had to fill it. It came down to the fact that the candidate went to work for one of our clients, and they paid him about $38,000 more than what he had originally asked for, and probably $30,000 more than what the job was worth. Now, what happens in situations like this, and most candidates don't want to think about it, is that somewhere along the line, everybody, all of us, makes mistakes. We do. We're human beings. In fact, if you don't make 5 or 10 mistakes a day, you're probably not doing your job. Somewhere along the line, this guy is going to make a mistake, and somebody is going to turn to somebody else and say, we paid $38,000 more than what we really wanted to pay for this guy, and he's not all that good. Well, the frank truth is he is good. He's really good, but he leveraged them for more money than they really wanted to pay. And because they needed to put their finger in the dike, and because they needed to fill the position, the need to fill the position was more important to them than the money at the moment. And they ended up paying more than what he or the job is really worth. Somewhere along the line, that's going to catch up with just about anybody. So all that glitters isn't gold. Somewhere down the line, these people are going to catch on that this guy is not worth the money that he leveraged them for. And in the heat of the moment, they paid him that kind of money when they're going to regret it. And he has just painted a big target on his back, so that every time that he makes a mistake, somebody's going to punch the other guy and say, look, we overpaid for this guy. He's not worth what we paid for him. And somewhere along the line, we're going to fix that. So here's the warning and here's the lesson. If you're a candidate, you're negotiating for a job opportunity, by all means, do a good job of negotiation. And it is to your best interest to get as much as you possibly can in the situation. But for goodness sakes, don't go overboard with it. And don't ask for too much or more than the job or you are worth. Now, I know some people say, well, I'm worth whatever I can get, and the more I can get, the better off I am. Not really so. You got to take into account a whole lot of other things. And just be careful that you don't overprice yourself. And in the heat of the moment, somebody hires you and then wakes up somewhere down the line and comes to the conclusion that you're really not worth all that they paid, or you're really not as good as what they thought, and they're going to resent it. You'll know this if you have to get into a bidding war and you have to keep going back and forth negotiating, and you negotiate a little more here and a little more there, and pretty soon you've negotiated it to the point where it's overvalued and you're overvalued, and you put yourself in a box and you put a target on your back. All right, stay tuned. This is Tony Bashar with the Job Search Solution.